Fake to Matthews on 2nd down and 8. Bradford hit. Ball is loose.
What you just witnessed was arguably the most impactful play of this generation. A single snap that changed football and the course of NFL history. Now on the surface, there's nothing extraordinary about this play, but the aftermath is where the real marvel of this play lies, as Eagles quarterback Sam Bradford separated his shoulder and suffered a concussion. These injuries would only keep Bradford on the sideline for 2 games, but that was enough to alter the course of NFL history. At the time of the injury, the Eagles were beating the Dolphins 16-13, but then Mark Sanchez got thrust onto the field. The Eagles only scored 3 more points, losing the game 20-19 after the game effectively ended with a Sanchez pick in the end zone. Had Bradford played the entire game, it's very likely the Eagles would have won, but they didn't. This loss set a chain reaction in motion that has drastically changed the landscape of the NFL in 2024. This game was part of an Eagles season that finished 7-9, resulting in the 13th pick in the 2016 draft. Subsequently, the Dolphins finished 6-10, holding on to the 8th overall pick. And as we dive into the madness that ensues, make sure to subscribe. Because the Eagles had a lackluster season, they fired their head coach, Chip Kelly, and hired Doug Peterson. The new leadership then looked to improve their quarterback and fell in love with Carson Wentz, one of 2 top-rated quarterbacks in the upcoming draft. However, picking 13th wasn't nearly close enough to pick a top-rated quarterback, so they traded up with none other than the Miami Dolphins. The Eagles traded corner Byron Maxwell, linebacker Kiko Alonso, and the 13th pick to Miami for the 8th pick. But that still wasn't close enough to take Wentz. So they conjured another deal in which they packaged the 8th pick, along with a 2nd, 3rd, and 4th rounder in 2016, and their 2017 first round pick to Cleveland for the 2nd overall pick in 16. Now, had Bradford stayed healthy and Philly beat Miami in that game, the Eagles would have fallen to the 19th pick in 2016, and the Dolphins would have risen to the 5th pick. This would have made it nearly impossible for Philly to trade up to the 2nd pick, as the largest trade in NFL history was when the 1977 Cowboys traded up from 14 to 2 to select Tony Dorsett. More importantly though, this guarantees that the Dolphins don't get the 13th pick, which they used to select Laremy Tunsil. But that's got its own story. Leading up to the draft, Tunsil was considered to be the best tackle in the class and a consensus top 5 pick. So how did he fall all the way to the Dolphins at 13? Well, right before the draft, a video was mysteriously leaked of Tunsil smoking marijuana out of a gas mask. This led teams to drop him from their draft boards or remove him altogether. Remember how Cleveland ended up with the 8th pick after the Eagles trade? Well, the Titans traded up with the Browns to get the 8th pick, where they passed on Tunsil for the lower rated tackle in Jack Conklin. Fast forward a couple years to 2019, right before the season began. The Dolphins traded Tunsil, who is now a budding star, to the Texans for 2 firsts and a 2nd round pick. This is where the chain reaction becomes an atomic bomb. Let's start with the 2020 draft. The Tunsil trade resulted in the Texans giving Miami the 26th pick overall in this draft. But the Packers, looking for Aaron Rodgers' heir apparent, traded up to the 26th pick from 30 to select Jordan Love. The Dolphins then drafted corner Noah Igbognagani at 30. The following year, in 2021, the Tunsil trade really paid off for Miami as they received the 3rd overall pick from Houston. A pick that they wouldn't hold on to for very long, as the 49ers decided it was their turn to trade up for a quarterback. San Francisco gave the Dolphins the mother lode to get their coveted quarterback. They gave up their 1st round picks in 2021, 2022, and 2023, and more to get the 3rd overall pick from Miami. All that to pick Trey Lance. Miami, now in possession of the 12th pick, had a change of heart and moved back up to the 6th pick by trading a 4th and a 2022 first to the Eagles. Philly then swapped the 12th pick with Dallas's 10th pick. The results of this shuffling worked out for all teams, as Miami drafted Jalen Waddle, Philadelphia drafted Devonta Smith, and Dallas drafted Micah Parsons. Leading into the 2022 draft, we have even more shuffling. First, going all the way back to the Carson Wentz nonsense, this time the Eagles are trading Wentz away for the 16th overall pick, which they packaged along with the 19th pick to get the 18th pick from the Saints, and a bunch of other picks including their 2023 first rounder, which will come back into play later. The Eagles then used the 18th pick to get A.J. Brown from the Titans, who selected Treylon Burks with that pick. The Saints did a little trading of their own too, as they flipped the 16th pick to Washington for the 11th. New Orleans then selected Chris Olave and Trevor Penning, as the Commanders chose Jahan Dotson. The Eagles used their other first round pick, the one they got from the Waddle, Smith, Parsons shakeup, to trade back with the Texans and select Jordan Davis, while Houston selected Kenyon Green. As you may have noticed by now, the Miami Dolphins are the main protagonists of the story, and they aren't done moving their picks yet either. The pick they got in the Trey Lance trade for 2022 wound up being the 29th overall. Not great, but good enough to package with a few other picks to get Tyreek Hill from the Chiefs. Kansas City used that pick to trade up to 21 with the Patriots to select Trent McDuffie, while New England chose Cole Strange. With one more pick from the Trey Lance basket, the Dolphins once again held the 29th pick for the 2023 draft, and they didn't like that one either, tossing it over to the Broncos to get Bradley Chubb. Denver then continued the game of hot potato, giving it to the Saints to get their new head coach, Sean Payton. The Saints ended that little game by taking Brian Breezy. But the chaos isn't quite over yet, as our main sidekick, the Eagles, wound up with the 10th pick in this draft from the Saints following the Carson Wentz trade timeline. With one last trade, the Eagles swapped the 10th for the 9th pick with the Bears, who got Darnell Wright, while the Eagles drafted Jalen Carter. And with those picks, our trading tree has finally reached its max. While there are still a few lingering picks that will need to be sorted out in 2024, and we never even discussed the impactful non-first round picks like Javon Holland in the second round of 2021, all first round picks and trades have now concluded. So here is where everything stands. The Titans got Treylon Burks, the Packers got Jordan Love, the Broncos got Sean Payton, the Bears got Darnell Wright, the Texans got Laramie Tunsil and Kenyon Green, the Saints got Brian Breesy, Chris Olave, and Trevor Penning, the Patriots got Cole Strange, the Commanders got Jahan Dotson, the Chiefs got Trent McDuffie, the Cowboys got Micah Parsons. The 49ers are the big losers of all this, coming away with just Trey Lance, who they already traded away to the Cowboys. And the two big winners, the Eagles got Devonta Smith, Jordan Davis, Jalen Carter, and A.J. Brown. And the Dolphins got Tyreek Hill, Bradley Chubb, Jalen Waddle, and Javon Holland. And there you have it. One play, one injury, and a third of the NFL has changed drastically 8 years later. And yet there are so many what-if scenarios that we didn't even talk about. What if the Eagles winning that game stopped them from firing Chip Kelly? No Doug Peterson, maybe no Super Bowl win. But that's a theory for another time. Thank you for watching. Subscribe for more NFL videos.